The term rapture comes from a Latin word which means to carry or snatch away. And although this term is not found in the Bible, it expresses the essence of a doctrine. It teaches that Jesus is going to come and silently snatch away the righteous from the earth. And while there are variations among those who hold the theory of the rapture, many have just blindly accepted this theory, without giving serious investigation of the Scriptures to see whether this doctrine is true. But if this theory is true, then driverless cars will collide in the streets, airplanes will crash when pilots are snatched away, husbands and fathers, wives and mothers will leave to go to work, or they will be sleeping soundly in their beds and suddenly will just disappear. All the righteous saints who have died before this great event will also be resurrected. They'll be carried away in this great rapture. Then will come the great tribulation, which will last for 7 years. And during this time the wrath of the Lord will be poured out upon the unrighteous because they rejected Him. Also the Antichrist will be revealed during this time. At the end of the tribulation, Christ will return to the earth with 10,000 of His saints to fight the battle of Armageddon. The Lord and His army will be victorious, and they will execute judgment on the ungodly, and the Antichrist will be destroyed. After this great victory, according to this rapture theory, Christ will then set up His kingdom with headquarters in Jerusalem and reign on David's throne with His saints for 1,000 years. And at the end of this 1,000-year reign of Christ, there will be a second resurrection, and all who remain in their graves from Adam will rise, and the judgment will then take place, and all will receive their reward or their punishment. But what does the Bible say about this concept? Folks, neither the term the rapture nor this doctrine is found anywhere in the Bible. Also, the Scriptures tell us that the return of Christ will not be secret. For the Lord Himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and the trump of God. 1 Thessalonians 4 and verse 16. The heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also, and the works that are therein shall be burned up. 2 Peter 3 and verse 10. Behold, He cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see Him, and they also which pierced Him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of Him. Revelation 1 and verse 7. The tribulation of the rapture theory is based on a misinterpretation of Matthew chapter 24. This tribulation spoken of by Jesus was associated with the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70 and was given in answer to the first question asked Him by the disciples in Matthew 24 verses 1 through 3. The tribulation indeed did take place before that generation passed away, Matthew 24 and verse 34. Also, according to the Word of God, there is going to be but one literal resurrection. It will include the righteous and the unrighteous. Jesus said, "Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming in the which all that are in the grave shall hear His voice, and shall come forth, and they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation." John 5, verses 28 and 29. And then in Acts 24 and verse 15, there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and of the unjust. According to the Bible, the kingdom of Christ is not to be established at some point in the future, as the advocates of the rapture would have us to believe, but that it has been in existence now for nearly 2,000 years. Furthermore, it is a spiritual kingdom, not an earthly kingdom. Jesus said in John 18 and verse 36, "My kingdom is not of this world." Christ gave the Apostle Peter the keys to the kingdom in Matthew 16, verses 18 and 19, and on the day of Pentecost in AD 33, Peter opened the kingdom to the Jews, Acts chapter 2, and about 8 years later to the Gentiles in Acts chapter 10. Later, John stated that he was in the kingdom, Revelation 1 and verse 9. The Christians in the city of Colossae had been translated into the kingdom, Colossians 1 and verse 13, and the Apostle Paul taught that the Christians had received a kingdom, Hebrews 12 and verse 28. All of these things were written during the period of the first century, and the kingdom was referred to as being in existence at that point. Friends, the book of Revelation is recognized by all Bible scholars as a highly symbolic book, and to literalize a 1,000-year reign is a gross misinterpretation of the highly figurative context of Revelation 20, verses 1 through 7. It is not talking about an earthly reign, but one that is spiritual, with saints being victorious. Friends, right now, Jesus Christ is seated at the right hand of God. He is ruling over his kingdom right now, 1 Timothy 6 and verse 15. And he will continue to reign until all enemies are put under his feet, 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 25. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that God may be all in all, 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 28. Friends, we thank you for joining us today. Have a blessed day.